Hello everyone, this is Papa Smithy, and you're on Thorin's YouTube channel, so brace yourself for some banter.
Well, I tried to tell you so. Yes, I did, but I guess you didn't know. As the saddest story goes, Baby Mac done got the flow. I didn't know it from the start. Baby, when he broke Rogue's heart, shout out to him that I had to come again and show you that he'll win. Now, Mac has been a coach within LEC teams since Splice in 2018. He took over as the Mad Lions head coach after Peter Dunn departed in 2021, and that position continued until this off-season when he was relieved of his duties, and he has since gone to Vitality. His teams, as his time as an assistant, strategic coach, head coach, have gone to Worlds 5 years in a row. By the way, he's never worked for Fnatic G2, the only enormous orgs that feel like a lock in this game. His team, one of them made the quarterfinals of a World Championship. That was in 2021. The same year at MSI, his team took the best Korean team. Some people were saying that was going to be the best team of all time. Damwon Gaming to 5 games in the semi-final at MSI. And he has won 3 LEC titles and been in 4 LEC finals. Yet, somehow, because of what's happened at some of the Worlds and at MSI, this guy gets wrecked by fans. This guy didn't turn up to Worlds because his child was being born. He got wrecked by fans. This guy was basically told, as he later did comedically, you better apologise for actually beating G2 and getting to go to MSI where, yes, things went badly. And he's told, not only is he a failure, but his teams suck and choke. And it's like, guys, where's the context? So when you look at the context, I think it's the opposite. I think this guy's incredible at what he's been able to do. And if you know what he's working with, I don't know if there's anyone else could have done that. I know plenty of people in the scene have got talent, but I've never seen anyone maximize their lineups like this guy. So, okay, there is obviously a few reasons out there as to why people might think poorly of Mac. Like, yes, you know what? His teams in those 5 Worlds appearances twice did get knocked out in the plains. Once, no less, in a best-of-5 sweep loss to North America, the Cardinals in Evil Genius, his former mentor's team, although Peter Dunn didn't actually get to go to that Worlds. They, let's be real, looked shit at MSI and Worlds this year. I mean, that's just the way the game went. And the team has looked bad in a few splits in general across his career. You can go to last year in the spring, season 12 spring, the one where they had Rika, didn't he make the playoffs? Then you had the previous year, even though they were a top team, there was times where they've had runs where I think in some of that year, they were like a top team in last year, 2022, and then they just bombed out without winning any playoff series, but went to Worlds. This year, obviously, you had in spring, the split they actually won. If Reckless just hits the Nexus in that group stage game, they would have lost something like, what was it, like, I mean, they'd done poorly in the group, in the best of ones. In the groups, they were about to get eliminated in last place in the group setting, so 7th to 8th. And then they won that last game. They got to the playoffs. Then they did their miracle run. They beat G2, they beat Vitality, they beat BDS, oftentimes in very close 3-2 series. And they got to win the title and go to MSI. But the rest of that split was looking terrible. Then after that, you had the summer split this year, right? Where after winning, what was it, 4 games in a row, they lost like 7 or 9 or something crazy in a row when you add in all the other matches. And then they got it together in the season final. So, okay, there's been some splits. Yeah, things have gone badly. Now, there is a lot of context behind some of these results. Like, first of all, Worlds for this particular year, let's be real, I said it before, his child was being born, as in his wife was like right about to go into labour, as he in theory would have had to go and be part of the boot camp and play the early rounds of the tournament. And because of the whole situation in Eastern Europe, that has ruined a lot of flights from Europe to places like China and Korea. This tournament was in Korea. So people don't know, because you can't fly over a certain very large country at the top of the world of Europe, it means you have to take all these ridiculous routes. So supposedly when they looked into the travel schedule of like, could he go to Korea, but then if his wife was in labour, could he like rush back? It was something absurd, like over 24 hours of travel continuous. You might not even get there in time, and it might all be for naught. So I actually understand, maybe it wouldn't be my choice. I'm not in a position where I can say I've ever been in that situation. But he chose in that scenario to prioritise his family. Don't think that's the end of the world. Was Mad Lions really going to win Worlds, guys? Was this going to be the one where they went deep? I don't think so. But people banged on it anyway. Then people act like, because of the World's Plains results, oh, he's a bum, he's never done anything. I just said it earlier. He was 1 game from being in the final of MSI in 2021, and he was playing Damwon. It's not like he got the RNG side. Oh, easy matchup. Like, then, at the same Worlds, it's just because he drew Damwon, the team that looked like they were going to win the tournament, that the team got beaten in the quarters. If you go look elsewhere, they were in that group that had LNG, Team Liquid and Gen.G. So any of these teams can get out. It ended up 3-3. Then there were tiebreakers. They got out of this group, unlike Team Liquid and LNG. And then they got out with Gen.G, and unfortunately, because they lost a single game, it doesn't have to be the Gen.G. If they could have won a single group stage game more, or one more game in this tiebreaker final, so 1 out of 4 games, they would have had the higher seed, which means they would have got Gen.G's spot, which would mean they'd have played Cloud9 in the quarters, and potentially played eventual winners EDG in the semi-final. So all you're talking about is one game from that being like an epic run at Worlds, where people would be so impressed and all. And even then, it's still a pretty good run. So I think people downplay that one. How about this? If you want to tell me this guy sucks, bear in mind, I'm obviously going to point out in a minute, he's had nothing to work with compared to everyone else. He finds the players, shows that they're good, gets them working, then they get sold and go elsewhere, and people go, oh my, all LEC talent. Yeah, they weren't when he got them, though, were they? He doesn't get all LEC talent, does he? So let's talk about this angle. How many coaches can you name who have more than one LEC title? So you can have Daylor, everyone knows Season 5, right? Youngbuck, the 6-star general. Dylan Falco won a couple with Youngbuck, won some with G2 now. We've got Grabs, obviously, with G2, won the 4 in a row. Beyond that, should I keep waiting? Have you got many more names for me? Is it just those 4 names? By the way, most people would say those are your immediate locks for like top 5 coaches in the history of LEC. Those 4 in whatever order. Well, you know what? The 5th one, look, Peter Dunn himself's a pretty good shout. But I'll tell you what, how about Mac? Why doesn't he get to be in there with his 3 titles? He even won 2 in a row back-to-back. He was in 2 finals in a row in 2023. And this is with constantly cycling out talent every year or 2. Then he works with no fucking budget. Like I say, he doesn't get to go and sign massive all-LEC talent while they're still all-LEC talent. He has to either get them on the rebound, as he's done a bunch of times, or he has to get them before they're all-LEC and then show you that they're all-LEC. So think about Mad 2020 when he was still assistant to Peter Dunn or the strategic coach or whatever. That was 4 rookies, and an almost rookie in Humanoid who's barely played at like the LEC level himself. He's just done a year before as a rookie. And they're going and they're having the first win, yes, online against G2. They're mixing it up with the best teams in Europe in the split. This is right in the G2 Fnatic era when they're supposed to be the only 2 teams because you always make the finals. And this guy's making it work with rookies. Then the next year, you remember you had El Yoya, right? Oh, El Yoya, he's amazing, isn't he? Yet he was a rookie and they won 2 championships with this guy back to back. Rookie junglers just winning championships. That's happening all the time, is it? Then how about this year? He had Chasey comes in. No one knows this fucking guy. Fresh player. Hillesang has to be reclaimed from the trash heap where no one wants him and everyone thinks he's a fucking bomb because he had his worst split ever and didn't look that great at Worlds when he'd had the previous year in that Fnatic team when they fell apart completely. He gets this guy looking fabulous again. I like the fact, if you think about his career, think about this. He worked with certain players, right, who before him may as well be no ones or just prospects. After him, when do they ever look better? When do they ever win championships without him? Go look at who he's played with. They can go elsewhere. They can go for millions, enormous contracts like Humanoid. They can go to other teams. Do they win championships? Do they ever show that, like, oh, it was me, not him? No, it looks to me like it's his systems part of why they're winning championships. I mean, think about people like Kazi. He looks fantastic when he plays with, like, arguably best ADC of the year. Him and Crowley it's between, right? Humanoid looked phenomenal. People were saying he was going to be the next Caps or Perks with a bit of shot calling, his ability to outplay, his big balls, not scared to play against anyone. Tell you what, he's looked like an absolute bomb a lot of the splits since he left Mac. Then you got Armut. Armut looked semi like a meme with Mac. And then after that, mate, did you see him in NA? He was playing against the bombs at top lane and it was still mad underwhelming. Like, this guy makes you look your absolute best. So if you knew what budget, there's times he's working with the 6th, 7th or 8th best budget in the league and he is getting his team like top of the league, near top of the league in regular season games. In the playoffs, they're finishing top 4, top 3. That's why they're actually going to Worlds. And sometimes they're winning splits when they're not even close to the top 3 salaries, the top 3 budgets to work with. And the other names get picked off by the other teams. The Fnatic and G2s have their first pick. And then comes someone like Mad Lions, if, by the way, depending on what era, the Misfits of the world, etc., aren't the ones signing up those players instead. I think this guy, it's not just criminally underrated, he's a fucking wizard. It's unbelievable what he does. And that's not even to mention things he is able to do with the draft and how he understands his players. Because here's the key thing about Mac, if you get to know the guy and you've listened to him enough. He actually has studied coaching. So he understands what coaching is in the field of coaching, not just having the role coach and knowing a lot about League of Legends or the meta or what champion someone could play. No, this guy understands how to coach, and as a result, how to coach different people and how to create an environment that's conducive to people learning, to making mistakes, to improving, to having communication. So you look at the fact that like he can coach people as well. There's man management skills here, as I've said about how he's gotten these people who can be very difficult or tricky or streaky or coin flip players, and they just seems to always come up heads in the Max team. Have you ever noticed that? It's because it's not a coincidence. He's not tripping over with all these different names doing that. He's making an environment in which they can learn, in which they can improve, in which they can go through hard times, and they can even talk to each other. So I think you look at him, he's enhancing people's ability, he's enhancing their fucking level, he's bringing them to their best, setting them up for success. Oh, and by the way, you might have heard stories about ridiculous scrims with certain players he's had. Yeah, because this guy knows how to force you to learn lessons from it. You're allowed to make a stupid mistake in scrims. Just explain why you're doing it or what you're going for, what you're going to do next time. As a result, people aren't afraid to actually try things, to develop a style that's not necessarily some traditional meta approach. And I would say that's why, no matter what's going on in regular season or in like random scrim games, this guy's pushed a lot the idea of mental health and like working smarter, not harder. Well, I'll tell you what, how many times have they delivered in the playoffs? How many times have they gotten a Worlds where you think, they'll be the one that drops out? Or, well, they're working with rookies now. He's got all his work ahead of him. All of a sudden, they're all LEC by the end of the split, aren't they? So you know what? I'll say it right now. I don't only think this guy is mad underrated. I'll bet you when he goes to LEC this year with Vitality, with some big names, with some of the ones he's worked with in the past, I reckon he runs the LEC. I think this is going to be one of the elite teams in the LEC, if not a champion again, and you'll see him at Worlds. And then let's see what he can do with some bigger names and a better budget and not just working, turning fucking straw into gold like some fucking mad Rumpelstiltskin level story, eh? When I make content, it isn't just me, the mic, and a guest or a topic. It's also me with the support of my whole crew. Who's that, you might ask? The Skrilluminati. That's who. They include Frisky, Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, Ahmed Hadjou, Tosh, Tobias Bernasconi, Jensen Goh, Animosity, Tooorin, and you know it if you've heard it before, but if you haven't, a special thanks goes out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Well, if you want to know upcoming topics and guests I'm going to have on my channel, maybe you want to ask me a question to answer in an AMA in video fashion. Do you want to hear one of those long discussions and actually be part of it and be able to ask me questions? Want to find out who I'm going to interview next? If any of these perks or more appeal to you, put your money where your mouth is. Join the Skrilluminati today via the Patreon link in the description box below.